Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Between Realities VR podcast. It is so great to see you. Thank you for being here. My name is Alex VR. I am one half of Between Realities, and I am joined here by my co-host, also the other half of Between Realities. It's Skiva.
What's up, buddy?
How's it going, man?
How are you, man?
Doing very well.
All right, excellent.
Doing very well, you know?
Sweet.
Drinking coffee. Skiva always lets me have coffee when I come and do the show.
Hey, you know.
It's nice.
Pick them up in the ship, and, the ship's got a very nice coffee maker.
And it's lovely. It's lovely. It's like kind of become a habit at this point.
Coffee from the edge of the galaxy somewhere.
It's pretty good. You know, I drink it black. Black coffee.
Yes, I do too. I love black coffee.
It's the way to drink it.
Yep.
You know, every now and then I'll switch it up. Get like a, like latte or, I don't know, cappuccino or some crap like that. But black coffee is my go-to if I'm going to drink some coffee.
I agree, man. I love me some coffee. I do. Man.
And some VR too, probably. Yeah.
Excited for a bonus episode. We haven't done we used to do a bonus episode like once a month.
Yeah.
And then I feel like we I don't know, forgot about it or something.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it's like it kind of like, I feel like today's episode is perfect for a bonus episode. Yeah. You know, it's like typically when we kind of want to focus on like one game or one thing that somebody's doing, and the schedule is just too packed. And it's like, you know what? Let's do it anyway. Let's get it in the middle of the week.
Instead of trying to get them in like May, Yeah, because there are guests that we have on. Their game actually launches today.
Yes.
When this airs, it will be today.
This is a pre-recorded episode, y'all. Yep. So this is not live. We recorded this yesterday, and tomorrow, oh boy, tomorrow for us, today for you, yesterday for all of us. Today is a day that a game is being released. And that's why we wanted to get this bonus episode in. It was like the time was right, talk to the developers and publishers of a brand new game on launch day, and not just launch day, but launch day on the official Quest store, which, as everybody knows, is like
on App Lab.
On App Lab,
yes, and Steam, and yes.
Oh, okay. So
I'll let them talk about like the official launches and all that when we bring them in. Yep.
Cool. Well, that's hilarious. Yeah, because I could have swore that was happening, right? But maybe not.
Yeah. Well, it hopefully will be soon. So,
okay. Yeah. Well, let's get to the bottom of it then.
Yeah. Let's
get to the bottom of it.
Bring down my monitor here.
So on today's show, we have the developers of Monkey See, Monkey Do from Continuum XR and the publishers of the game from Clique Games. It's David Burnham from Continuum and Brandon Egolf from Clique Games. What's up, dudes? Thanks for being here and joining us.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, thanks so much for having us. Yeah, this is a blast.
Yes. So were you like just cringing in the background when I started talking about official store release and stuff? Because I for some reason I was thinking that was the case. What's going on today, guys? Like, how is this game coming out? Give us the lowdown.
Sure. So basically, at the end of the day, Monkey See, Monkey Do comes out today on App Lab, and we have Steam VR coming out very, very shortly after. There's a lot of things that happen with Steam, and one of them is you have to have a few days from when you push the store to when they actually let you publish it live. And so we kind of got caught in the middle due to some monetization stuff and some like build issues. So it'll be here very, very soon after launch, but for everybody with the Quest, it's out today.
Sweet. That's awesome. So, and that is most VR people, right? Like, I'm sure when you guys started this game, did you know that this was going to be something that you wanted played on the Quest, or is this something that started long ago?
No, yeah, we definitely designed it for the Quest. Just not having a tethered experience with all of the movement that you do with your hands. The Quest was just the perfect platform for it.
Yeah, well, and that's the one that everybody has, so that also makes it the perfect platform.
Absolutely. You're gonna get lots of people to play. How much I feel like this is pretty important. How much is this experience going to be to buy?
Well,
that was a great question.
It's quite hefty, the price. We were thinking about $4,000 and we lowered it to free.
Oh, Oh, wow.
So,
okay. What a discount. That's fantastic.
That is a
Quite
pretty
a
big
discount.
discount. Yeah.
It's absolutely free on every platform. And the game has
Infinite % off discount.
infinite. It has in-app purchases that are totally cosmetic, so there's no pay to win or anything, and that's the only way we fund the game.
That's lovely. I do feel like that's the way to go, especially with a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
But, you know, right now we're kind of like, we know a little bit about what's going on with Monkey See, Monkey Doo-Doo, but I'm sure there are those in our audience right now who are like, okay, well, what the hell are you guys talking about? So why don't you give us like the overview, you know, what's going on with your game? What is the game? You know, how did it come to be? Like, what were the initial chats that led to its creation? And then what can people expect when they play the game?
Yeah, sure. So Monkey Doo at its core, it's a very simple game. You're playing as a little monkey in VR, so you know it's all you're experiencing movement just like a monkey would, and you know like a cute little guy like think Abu from Aladdin, you know, like that kind of a monkey.
Yeah.
So because they're so small and lightweight, you know, you can just really just fling yourself all over, and it's like gravity is you know. Not a thing. I mean, you know, it is, but it's fun. It just gives you all this freedom of movement. So everything in Monkey Doo you grab, and everything is climbable, and you can throw yourself around the map and really feel like Tarzan. It's a blast. There's vines and trees and lily pads in the swamp that act like trampolines and things. There's a croc who will, you know, try and eat you if you stay in the water too long. And really your objective, as a multiplayer game and as a free-for-all game, you're racing against other players using these fun immersive mechanics to just be the first one to collect 10 bananas. And if you collect 10 bananas, you win. But if you reach behind your butt and pull the trigger, you actually will grab some doo-doo, and you can fling that at other players. And this is really fun because it lets the players really interact with each other. And if I hit you with doo-doo, then you'll drop one of the bananas that you collected, and now anyone can go and steal it. And so you're constantly going back and forth of like, you know, who's in first place and who's got the most bananas and stuff. And if I, you know, maybe I knock you off of a vine into the water and you get eaten by the croc. Well, the croc will eat you, and all of the bananas that you carried are now, you know, up for grabs for everybody to just go and scavenge and go crazy. And you get some really, really fun, wild, competitive play, and it's a blast. So then you can use those bananas that you collected in the game in order to go to our in-game shop, which is led by everyone's favorite monkey overlord, Big Bongo. And he will actually trade those bananas as a form of currency for cosmetics that are super fun. Tons of fun making those. And yeah, you can just see in the videos and stuff that the community has made, like our team did an amazing job and people are loving it. So
wow, I'm really
Brandon,
glad that we finally have the doo-doo that we need to have the interactions that we want to have in VR together, you know, because that's just, you know, we need more doo-doo to bring us closer in our VR experiences, I would say.
Yeah.
So I like that you can earn the currency to buy the cosmetics too. So even though there is in-app purchases to buy this stuff, you don't have to. You're not just like left out if like you don't have the money to do so or can't get your parents.
Is it the same? Is it the same currency? Like when you pay $5, are you getting like 500 bananas, and then, you know, or I could have saved those same? Or are they separate currencies?
So we do this in a really interesting way. There's two currencies. One is called rubies, and that's the paid currency, and the other one's bananas. As David said, if you play the game, you're earning the currency. So you have a direct incentive to go in there and play. And if you win, you get bonuses, and if you do certain things in the game, you get bonuses. So you use those to get them for free. Almost, like 99% of everything in the game is totally available through those bananas. There are very, very, very few things that are not available using the in-game currency, and that's normally for like special events or partnerships. But for the rubies, those are literally just an alternate form of currency. You cannot buy bananas, and you need bananas in order to do things like crafting, which is something David didn't talk about. So you can take two hats. If you get the same hat twice, combine them together, you get an ultra version of that hat, and you can do that up to 4 times. But you can only do that if you get bananas. So even if you pay a ton of money, you can't get everything in the game unless you play like everybody else. So we wanted to make sure that anybody who didn't want to spend a cent could have a great time and get almost everything. And people that did want to pay just got an expedited experience to get those things a little bit faster.
Nice. That sounds good. So
yeah, that's pretty dope.
I do want to know more about like the conception of this, right? Like, I mean, I imagine a conversation where you get like, a bunch of developers are sitting around, like one of them's like, what if we, reached behind our behinds and crapped into our hands and flung it? It's like, that's a great idea. Like how did this come to be? Like what were the initial conversations like?
It's almost exactly like that. What we ended up doing actually, so as a company, so I'll tell you a little bit about just like Continuum XR as a company real quick, and that'll kind of help paint a picture. So Continuum's a mixed reality company. We do a lot of augmented reality, virtual reality, and like Web3 blockchain technology stuff. And we would primarily, make our money as a company doing client work. And we had been working on a 1-year contract for another virtual reality game that once we got to the end of that contract, we built this team to be able to fulfill that. And now that we had the people on board, we were like, well, I mean, we might as well just make our own thing instead of just, helping other people make their vision and stuff. And so we got together and had this big pitch meeting, this big like dinner, and it was this really awesome thing where everybody in the company got to just go up and do a pitch to everybody, and we could just kind of vote basically and see what we wanted to do next. It's funny because all of the ideas that we came up with were there's some really good ideas, but they were all like pretty large in scope. And for our first in-house thing that we were going to do on our own, we wanted to try and do something pretty simple, just so that we weren't like overwhelmed, right? Because we have a team of like 2 developers and like 4 artists or so, so it's not like we can go and do something AAA right off the bat, you know what I mean? So we took some of the ideas that were pitched and just said, hey, what are the best pieces of these? And what we really came up with is, for a VR game, people really seem to enjoy climbing, because it feels very immersive and very interactive. And people really seem to enjoy the idea of like throwing, again, something very physical, interactive, and gives you that sense of like skill, right? So we thought to ourselves, I mean, climbing, throwing, monkeys climb, monkeys throw poo, like maybe we could do something, maybe something's there. And so our bosses actually put those ideas together and came to the team and were like, hey, I know this is not like anything that you guys pitched, but tell me what you think of monkeys throwing poo. And we're just like, I mean, okay, like you're the boss. So yeah, so we're just like, all right, how do we make that? I mean, if we were some big budget Blizzard or Activision Blizzard kind of studio that had investors and stuff, obviously an idea like this would never leave the drawing board, right? But as a small studio, we're able to kind of have more creative freedom, and we can take ideas like this and run with it. And I think it's been a blast. Like the initial ideas of the game were things like, oh, we can go and collect, different types of, fruit and stuff to get different power-ups for poo and things, and maybe I need to eat bananas in order to like fill up like a poop meter or something, and then I have like limited amounts of poop, and if I want to throw more poop I need to eat more bananas or whatever, and we just had all these ideas, and really my job as the director and the game designer is to take all of the wonderful ideas that were presented and the hilarious ideas that were presented, filter it down into one simple, easily digestible experience that is replayable and has clear purpose and flow to it. And so we trimmed out things like ammo. We initially monkeys were going to have hit points. It was going to be kind of like a shooter, right? Like on vines, and you'd throw poop at each other until somebody died. And we were like, well, like, why are they dying from getting hit with poop? Like, that's dumb, So we really it evolved quite a bit over time. And ended up with this idea of we're racing against other players. Throwing poo lets you interact with them and stop them from achieving their goal while helping you get closer to achieving yours. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. This was all 7 months ago, when we started, like when we pitched the idea, right? So like,
Wow.
it's been a very fast process, and I couldn't be more proud of the team, because it is not easy to do something in such a short amount of time. But that's why we kept it simple, right?
Well, 7 months is definitely a short amount of time.
Yeah, for real.
And, you've been mentioning keeping it simple, but you've also built a multiplayer VR game, and I've heard through the grapevine that is not simple. Like, it's actually hard to do multiplayer VR. I'm sure you guys must have hit some roadblocks along the way in your development process.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely don't make a multiplayer VR game for your first game ever. Well, what we had done, all of our client work and stuff that we'd been doing were for single player VR games and stuff, and we wanted to do something multiplayer just because we knew, the potential to reach a larger audience. And it's just, I want to make games that millions of people enjoy, and it's just multiplayer was like a no-brainer for that purpose. But you're absolutely right. Like, there's all kinds of problems that we ran into that we had. It's like you don't know what you don't know. We ran into issues, like, especially with like two devs. We've done multiplayer games for different platforms. For like PC, using like Unreal Engine, where it's like all pretty automatic and does it for you, right? But we're using Unity. We're doing it in VR on the Quest, which is like as powerful as like a mobile phone, right? So it's like, I mean, there's very serious restrictions and limitations in what you're able to do. And we were kind of fighting some of those things. A lot of the physics that we wanted to do to try and make it feel real, we simply couldn't do. The hardware didn't allow it. Things like transparency. I mean, for crying out loud, like there's so many things. Like, you can't have transparent stuff in VR, otherwise the frame rate just plummets, right? It's just not powerful enough to do a lot of these things. Deciding what features needed to be networked. Very early on, we knew, okay, we wanted climbing and swinging, so we thought of these vines. And so like the very first prototype was just a bunch of vines just floating in space, and we were like, how do we make these feel like really, lifelike? And so we made sort of these like rope chain simulators and stuff, so they'd be like sort of swaying and stuff like in the wind, and if you grabbed it like actually like behaved like a rope and things, and that was almost impossible to play, right? Because you'd get so sick from all of the extra motion and stuff from the real life simulations, and the frame rate just couldn't be supported. So we had to find ways to take these ideas of what we wanted to do and what feels natural and immersive, and how do we simplify it and strip it to its like core. And so now our vines are literally just poles that have like a little hinge, and it's not accurate at all, right? But it feels good,
Feels
and it doesn't distract from the experience. So all kinds of things.
I think you made the right choice going multiplayer, because I'll tell you what, I have a lot of really cool single player VR games that I am dying to get into, but at least for me, this is kind of how it goes down. Every night, my group of friends pings, and they're like, hey, what are we playing? And I can't ever suggest any of the single player stuff, right? But with when you can get in there and you can share experiences together, it's so much better. No one wants to go out to the movies by themselves. No one wants to go out to dinner by themselves and do things by themselves. Everything is better with friends, right? Everything's better when you share it with someone else. And being able to get in there and, chuck poop at my best friend is freaking hilarious, and it's a good time, So I think you made the right move with the multiplayer thing, for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And to your point too, getting together with friends. I mean, especially, I don't know. There's just in today's day and age, right? There's so many different aspects of life that are just like competing for our attention. And so, we made the call like, hey, if you're going to get together with friends, like, are you really going to have time to like sit down and dedicate like, an hour, 2 hours of playing some really cool campaign story-based game or something, and it's like, I mean, maybe, right? But like, so we decided to play it safe and just make something much more easily consumable and digestible in just like 2 to 5 minute experiences.
I think that is important for a lot of people. You know, like my brother, for example, is that gamer. Like he is never going to play something that has like a campaign or like you need more than like 15, 20 minutes at a time. Even though he will still end up playing sessions of games for like an hour or two straight, there's like something in his head that like prevents him from being okay with like diving into a Zelda or something. And he would so much rather play like Rocket Leagues or, you know, just like quick, easy to go matches or Monkey Do matches, you know, like get in there, boom, do it a few times. Cool. Awesome. See you later, you know, see you tomorrow, whatever. So
yeah, I agree. And it's, you know, it's important, especially for certain age ranges too, right? Like someone that might be attracted to Monkey Do might be a little bit younger and might not be able to play for hours and hours at a time, right? They need to be able to get in, connect with their friends, have a good time, 30 minutes, pop off, you know.
Then run downstairs for dinner.
Yeah, or do whatever.
By the way, so we're calling it Monkey Do, right? Like that's, we heard you kind of, that must be like the way that you guys talk about the game internally is by calling it Monkey Do. Monkey See, Monkey Do is definitely a little bit of a mouthful. You know, and I'm wondering like what the whiteboard looked like for like potential titles of this game before you landed on this one.
We had quite a few, and it's funny that we have an employee on the AR team at Continuum who, when he was in college, he took this like Unity dev class. And it was just like a small, you know, 2 or 3 man team, has a month or so to make some sort of VR game. And they had this hilarious idea of like monkeys being trapped in a zoo, and like, you know, people are like throwing candy and popcorn and tomatoes and crap at them, like just being jerks, you know, just throwing crap at monkeys. And then you were the monkey throwing poo back at the people, you know.
So they throw crap, you throw poo.
Yeah, and he called it Monkey See, Monkey Poo. And I thought that was the funniest thing ever. Like, what a great name. And, you know, so that was like our working title for the longest time, is Monkey See, Monkey Poo. And then we thought, well, like, you know, what are some other things? Doo-doo was just a little bit more like funny and less gross than poo. So, you know, we pitched, you know, that one was pitched. Simpler things like, you know, monkey business. I don't know. We had some like weird ones. We actually typed in like ideas to ChatGPT, you know, like what could be some names. And it was not helpful.
No, I was almost waiting for like a gem to come out.
Yeah, but Monkey See, Monkey Do, yeah, it is a little long, but like at the same time, it's memorable, and it captures like the jovial lightheartedness of the game. That it's not gross, right? Like, you know, you pull out poo from your butt and you throw it at people, but it's like, it's a cute little guy with like, you know, eyeballs, and like he's smiling. And, you know, there was even thought one time we might do this, but there's talk of like having a little poop cosmetic that's gonna be like the little doo-doo guy that's like wearing like a little diaper, and he's like crying because he was like just born or something.
Baby doo-doo.
I love that. That's hilarious.
So yeah, we wanted just jovial, lighthearted. You know, we wanted people to, you know, parents to think that this is like a silly game, you know, not some nasty, gross thing that their kids are asking them to play.
Yeah, and just as we started marketing the game more and more, Monkey Do became kind of like the colloquialism. Like, it was just easier to say, and the community picked it up a lot faster too. So right now the game's launching on App Lab, but eventually if we ever get to the official store, I think we will probably air towards naming it Monkey Do VR, or shortening it just to truncate it so it's easier to find. But Monkey See, Monkey Do will always be the name of the game.
Right. Well, and it's like, you know, people don't say, hey man, would you like to go and join me in a game of, you know, Grand Theft Auto 5, or would you like to play some World of Warcraft with me? They always say like, hey, let's jump into GTA, or yo, let's jump into WoW. They like people find like the acronyms, they find the shortcuts, you know.
Yeah.
So
Do you want to play Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
No, right?
So, and you know, speaking to it, kind of like the name implying something jovial, something that is lighthearted, not disgusting, maybe approachable by a younger crowd. It really does seem like this game has been designed for a younger audience. Like, would you say that that's true?
I think the game is more designed to let anybody hop in and play it. One of the things we wanted to make sure of was that we weren't totally catering the game to kids. As much as it seems like that, what we're kind of going towards is like some cartoons, you know, kind of wink at the parents and is like, haha, this is also for you.
Right.
That's very much what Monkey Do is. Because if you get in with your friends who are 20, 30, you're going to have a blast. You're going to absolutely lose your mind. It's so funny. It's so much fun. And that's all without any kind of age rating. It's just like Legos. Like, so long as, you know, you're not trying to eat the Legos, anybody can have fun with it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, nice.
Well, I'll tell you, I am above those age ranges, and I got in there, and I immediately got addicted to this game. I gotta, you know, in the interest of being open and honest here, I gotta say the very first time I heard about Monkey See, Monkey Do, I was like, oh yeah, that game's not for me. And then I actually went in and I tried it, and oh my god, I was like, I left the game, and I was like, I gotta play that again. And I like got some friends on Discord, and I'm like, yo, let's hop into this. This is so much fun. And I've gone in there and played it a whole bunch. The mechanics are super solid. They feel really good. You know, one of the mechanics I love in VR the most, I think, is in like Population 1, how you can like throw yourself on buildings and like just pop yourself over things. And this kind of has that feeling, but even better, where you can just launch yourself off of things and you go flying, you know, swing from vine to vine and like just throw yourself, you know, an incredibly far away. And it's super, super fun. And then to be able to reach behind you and grab crap and throw it at my friends and see it like hit him in the face. I don't know why that's so funny.
I mean, I know why it's funny.
It's hilarious.
I can take a guess. I'll say too, to that point, one of the other reasons it's great for any age is because by default, when you get into the game, everybody's muted. So if you hop into a public lobby, everybody's quiet by default. So you can choose to turn that on. Because I know for me, it gets overwhelming in some multiplayer games because there's a lot of kids with VR. And so the minute I get in there and I hear everybody screaming, I'm like, nope, not for me. See you guys. Have fun. But what we do is we, one, mute everybody. And two, you can create a private lobby before you ever join a public lobby. So you can just instantly make a code for your friends to join you. You never have to deal with anybody else you don't want to. Simple as that. So it really is just, we try to make it as easy to get into the game as possible, and it's as easy to customize the experience to where you can only deal with what you want to deal with.
Yeah. Which I guess is pretty good, you know, because that is the kind of gamer that I am. Like, I love all of these games that other people might say are made or targeted for kids, right? Like, I mean, I don't really play Gorilla Tag, but I do play like Rec Room with friends from time to time, or, you know, whatever. Some of these like free to play multiplayer games that make it easy to get in and out of stuff. And, you know, I guess Rec Room does it to a certain extent where like you load into your dorm room first, and then from there you can choose to go and enter the public space. But, you know, I think it's important that you address people's concerns about that. You know, like everyone's had that experience of just entering a lobby and then boom, like wall of sound of like high pitched shrills, kids who are just going crazy. So you say that they're all muted by default. Then like in the middle of a match, are you able to like look at one monkey and be like, you know what, I'm going to unmute you, like click, and now I can hear them?
That's exactly what you can do. You have a wristwatch where all of your settings are, and you just kind of pop it, and then you see all of the voice, everybody active. So you can report people, you can unmute, you can mute. So what I do normally is I go in and I have my voice on so I can hear everybody, and then as people annoy me, I just mute them down the line, and there you go.
Nice. Sweet.
Boom. Yeah, because, you know, you go into games, there's a lot of really good free-to-play games out there, right? But they are plagued sometimes by going into lobbies and hearing everyone yelling and screaming and whatever, and sometimes you're just not in the mood for that. So, you know, games like Echo VR, for example, is, you know, like that. There's a few games. So having that the default, I think, was a really, really solid choice. That way you can go in, unmute your friends, and then decide if you want to kind of partake in in the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, I mean that's me. I'm always like I said, I'm only going in games like this with friends. It's very rare that I'm just like, yeah, maybe I'll pop in and just play some Rec Room, or I'll play some Monkey Do today and just play with the randoms. Like it's really not my style at all.
Yeah, same.
We have private lobbies that we've set up so that you can easily be able to do that and just say, I just want to hop in just with my friends. I don't want to play with any randos. You know, here's a private room code. I'll give it to my friends, and we'll never, we'll never see, some random kid ever.
There is some beauty in knowing, like, I never have to see anybody I don't want to see in this game. I could load up a private lobby and just swing around by myself if I wanted to. So
awesome.
It's really nice.
And I have done that too, by the way. Just opened a lobby and just go around and just mess around just by myself, block everyone else out.
I mean, the mechanics feel great.
Yeah.
The climbing feels great. The swinging feels great. It's like, I've only been able to spend a few minutes in there, but like I can imagine that once you get a few skills and like really learn how it feels, that you can just start cruising around. I think I noticed by default that there is no turning, no stick turning by default. Is that true?
Yeah, so it's in the settings. It's kind of unfortunate. We have to have it off by default to accommodate all of the players. I mean, a large amount of the player base is going to be people coming from games like Gorilla Tag or whatever that are, physical movement. And a lot of the times the reason why they're playing Gorilla Tag, for example, is because so many controllers, so many players are victim to stick drift. And so they play Gorilla Tag because you don't need the sticks, right? And they have no input, right? So oftentimes that's the only game that they can play. So when that audience comes in and they do have, stick drift and stuff, like they're all of a sudden like unable, because the only way in our game is to move. They're unable to move at all because they're trying to grab it. They're constantly rotating and they can't go, in the right direction. So we have it off by default so that they can at least be able to navigate into the game and then go into the settings and tweak it. But they literally could not play the game if it were on by default.
Yeah. Are you guys at all concerned about the Gorilla Tag, like the comparison between Monkey Do and Gorilla Tag? Like, I'm sure you guys have had some conversations about it internally.
Yeah, I would say, in one part, it's very flattering to be compared to a game that's so popular, in a game that so many people like beloved. And on the other hand, it's hard to stand out just because we picked a character that's a monkey, know? And I think the real issue is that Gorilla Tag has so many fan games, which was a whole part of the world I didn't know about until we really started working on this game, where people loved Gorilla Tag so much they took the movement system, they made their own version of it, pretty much the exact same game, just with a new area or new characters. And so, when this game was being developed, we didn't realize how pertinent just being a monkey in VR was tied to that experience. And so we've worked really hard to make sure that as outwardly as possible, we are very like holistically different experience, and anybody who gets into the game will realize that. And I think the best example of that is movement. In Gorilla Tag, anybody that's familiar with that, you basically slam your hand into the ground and pull. You don't touch anything on your controller, you just kind of use your hands. In our game, because you have vines, because you have things you can interact with and climbing, you hold the grip button. And already that intrinsically changes the entire game design philosophy on how you're interacting with it. Being able to swing on vines is the number one most highly rated thing about the game from every user. From any other experience, is being able to be Tarzan and climb and hold on while you throw and move around is such a better way to interact with the world from everything we've heard. And so we're very happy to have that kind of system instead.
Nice. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely pros and cons. Gorilla, sorry, and I didn't mean to cut you off there, but with Gorilla Tag, like it's great that you don't need any buttons, right? Like that in itself is really great design, and it's obviously successful because of that. When we started making Monkey Do, none of us had I'd heard of Gorilla Tag, never played it. I played it once 2 months into development just to like see what all the hype was about and stuff, because that's when people started saying, oh, like this is, we had a very small group of like internal testers, and they were like, oh, this is kind of like Gorilla Tag. I'm like, yeah, I should probably like check that out. I hear it's really popular. And so I played it, and I was like, oh, okay, like I get why people are making that, that comparison, but like from the get-go, like Brandon said, this idea of like everything is climbable. Like it all stems back to just like that pitch of like we like climbing and throwing, and that was, so moving around on the ground was actually like probably the most frustrating problem for us to like overcome, because Gorilla Tag, it's very intuitive to move on the ground. I mean, originally we didn't even want to have a ground, right? Like because we didn't want, the game wasn't about the ground. It was about swinging. It was about climbing. It was about being Tarzan, right? And so eventually we had to have a ground, which, it falling to your death, was really frustrating for players to just like make a slight error and then always be punished for it. So we made it more forgiving. But
the other thing that makes the game stand out is exactly that, is gameplay. Now we kind of explained earlier on like how it works. You're racing to collect 10 bananas, but what David's hitting on is really, really important. When Gorilla Tag talks about being on the ground all the time and like, throwing your hands and racing to tag people, we're the exact opposite. If you touch the ground, you're punished. There's a crocodile that is constantly, Kyle the crocodile, that is constantly swimming around in the water, and the minute you touch the water, beelining straight for you. Not only that, but there are river currents that you can turn on in your lobby, and those will start sweeping you to the sides of the map to throw you into the void. We don't want you spending time on the ground. We want everybody swinging, being active, and moving, and that is wildly different than any game out there. And so that also ties into this whole, the comparison is not a bad thing. I understand why it's made, but I think it's so important that we pinpoint where our differences are and where we think our strengths are comparatively.
Yeah, it is a very different game, and but it is, like you said, it's flattering, right? Gorilla Tag is arguably the most successful and most played VR game in history. Like, it has the most active players. It took forever for some reason to hit the official Quest store. Who knows why? Because it was so popular. And then when it did, it almost instantly made like $26 million. Yeah. Like, boom. Wow. That's a huge amount of money. That's a huge amount of players. It's tons of people that are playing this game. And I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. So hopefully, if you guys can get a little piece of that, because I truly feel like this is a way better game. Like, way better than Gorilla Tag.
Nice.
So,
it's certainly more my style.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I prefer this kind of gameplay than that what you might find in Gorilla Tag.
Yeah.
One thing I want to ask you guys about, and this is something that we've talked on the show a little bit about in the past, but I feel like these free-to-play multiplayer quest titles are by far the most potent breeding grounds for toxic behavior. Like, I've seen some stuff in like Echo VR that has made my blood boil. Like, really immature young people doing really stupid stuff, and when you're in VR and you're like, assaulting someone in VR, it's a lot different than like getting teabagged in Halo, like it's, obviously that's enough to make your blood boil too, but like now you're like in it, like you're personified in the experience, and I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are in terms of toxic behavior, because I'm sure that that there are going to be some dumb kids who come in here and do some stupid stuff, right? That's like almost an inevitable.
Dumb adults too. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it's already happened. We've already had people that get into these lobbies and are that. And that is an inevitable part of, unfortunately, the gaming industry. I mean, we've all been gamers since we were kids, and there's not a time where I've played a single multiplayer Quake match where somebody wasn't typing something horrifying in that chat in 2004, right? Like, it's always kind of been this way, and it's a horrific reality of this space for some reason. But what we've done is we've done a lot, and we have a lot planned on how we're going to crack down on this. So, for example, when you're in those lobbies, you can mute people, but people don't disappear. People can still bother you. People can still be there. And that's why we're implementing things like personal bubbles, where you can choose to like not see people or have them disappear. Or when you're standing at the shop, people can't interact with you. They can't throw things at you. They can't, because when you get hit with doo-doo in the game, it wipes your screen brown. So it's very annoying in the game, and it's meant to be. But in the lobby, it's even worse. Like, if you're trying to hang out, you of course don't want to have your entire vision covered for a few seconds. So we're doing a lot, but you can already report in the game, and that instantly goes to us, and we can review what happened and make a decision from there. And we have so many more things planned, but you're exactly right. As virtual reality becomes more and more of a reality of its own, how we interact with each other is incredibly important, and how game developers and studios like ours deal with that sets the precedent for the next 100 years of technology like this. I think it's important that all of us come together and pick the best route forward for user safety, because it's going to get worse.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on this, David?
And I'll just go ahead and say, I mean, we since we have a small, right now we have a pretty small dev team. The last thing that I personally would like to do is have to be in a situation where they're devoting their time to having to create all of these systems and catch-alls to prevent bullying and harassment, because any time that they're spending making these systems in place is time that they're spending not, making the game better, right? Like, and so what I would like is and I think our community so far has been terrific at this. I've hopped in games and I've heard people, one random kid will come in and say something, mean or stupid or something. And I've heard like the rest of the lobby, come to the defense and be like, hey dude, don't say things like that. Like, that's not cool, and right when you spawn in the game, there's a big billboard with community guidelines and what our expectations are. At the end of the day, we're offering a free product and a free platform for people to be able to have fun, make friends, and interact with. And if you're going to abuse that, I mean, the game is free. Like, we're not getting anything from bullies.
As easy as it was to download, it was as easy to remove you.
Yeah, we have no problem banning bullies and stopping people, from playing our experience, because you're not adding to the community. If you're going to make it worse, then we're not about that. And so our community has been really supportive and really anti-bully, and I'm proud of that.
Our community has just been one of the most incredible things about the experience, and that's what it needs. Any multiplayer experience needs a community that'll stand behind it and protect it. I think it's a unique situation for Monkey Do because Gorilla Tag has, from my understanding, a lot of toxicity in it. There are a lot of really horrific characters at play in the Monkey Do community, and that's what some of the younger players that have joined our game kept saying they loved about ours, is that it's not here. They're not finding it. Like, they can, it feels like a much more safe space than a Gorilla Tag lobby. And, as a developing and publishing studio, the number one goal is always user safety and user comfortability. And so the more that we can rely on our community to take care of those things, report the people that are being bad faith actors, report people that are causing a worse experience, the less that we have to do every single day in the report. And that's what cultivating a good community does for you, is they take care of it for you. So having in-game moderators that aren't abusing their power, that are looking after other people, and even like David said, when there were people in the lobby being toxic, when we're here putting the game out as a beta, so our resources right now are just getting the game working. We can't pay attention to as many things in game. The community's here screaming these people out of the lobbies and forcing them out, like, you're not welcome here. This isn't what we're building. I love that. There's nothing that I could be more proud of.
That is awesome.
Than setting something like that up.
How many people have had access to this game? Because today it comes out, right? But so a lot more people are now going to have access. But like, how did you get access to this community? How did you build this community before the launch of the game?
Yeah. Well, I would say right now, to answer your first question, I think we probably have an active user base of like 600, 700 people as of our previous events where we let in beta testers. But the way the community really started, I came on board when our Discord had like 300 people, and that was around November. And so one of the first things that I did was try to find a reason. Number one, try to get people that are dedicated about the experience in. And the way that we did that was we used our Me6 bot in Discord, where you had to send a bunch of messages before you would get to what's called level 10. And level 10 is something you can only get by chatting, by hanging out in voice calls, by being helpful in the community. And once you hit level 10, you could send a request to get a key to become a beta tester. Now, keep in mind, you would have to send about 2 hours worth of messages in order to get to level 10. That's a healthy amount of messages to send over the course of a few days. And those people were the most dedicated and loyal to the game. They believed in it. They believed in the community. They got to meet each other through that same system. So when they finally got into the game, they were protective of it. They wanted this to be a healthy experience. So right now, we have 600, 700 people today on launch that love the game, that believe in the game, that know everything about the game, that have been with the community for months, that are ready to help us build something incredible. And there's nothing more exciting than that, to see those people finally get the full lobbies every single day that they've wanted. And it's really those first few beta testers that we owe a lot of this future success to, because they're going to keep it rolling.
Nice. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's great. And, you know, they'll be there to be able to explain certain mechanics to people and kind of
Right.
you know, hold them, guide them along, teach them cool strategies and all of that. So that's really, really good. And yeah, I can't wait to see, you know, what your community looks like a week from today, you know?
I know, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
That'll be wild. Yeah, I mean, since we've had such a limited pool of players, deliberately, as Brandon said, you know, to get all these bugs and things worked out before release, it's going to be quite an adventure to see how it goes from having like a couple hundred people to like a couple thousand people like overnight. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you know, kind of to
all hands on deck.
Kind of to wrap up our previous conversation, I really hope that you're able to like maintain a comfortable and safe community for everyone, you know, because it's kind of weird how like it's on the developer of the experience to protect from that stuff, you know. It's like you have to be not only like the creators of the world, but also like the law enforcement of VR for all intents and purposes, you know, which is really weird.
Really, it's on the parents, right? I mean, you know, at some point, you know, you got to teach your kids to not be, you know, bullies.
Sure.
And just because, you know, you've got this keyboard warrior mentality of like, there's no consequences of, you know, I'm not going to get in trouble because some random kid on the other side of the world, you know, doesn't know who I am and can't find me or whatever. And that's such a, you know, not healthy, attitude. So
it's like a problem of accountability.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's like a problem of accountability, because like if some young kid decides he wants to go and like physically assault someone on the streets, he's going to be held accountable for that action. Like you can't do that and get away with it. You know, like it's against the actual law. But there's something about VR that is like, I guess, not real enough to be punishable by actual law. You know, like like, I'm not allowed to go and harass someone in the middle of a store. So, but you are allowed to harass someone in the middle of a monkey see, monkey doo-doo lobby. You know, like the police are not going to come for you if you do that. So like the question becomes to me then, like, what is it that needs to happen in VR in order for those experiences to like both be punishable? Like, does it just need to become more real? Like you need to actually feel them when they touch you or something, you know, like.
It's an interesting philosophical question, because, you know, I think back to what we were taught in school. I was born in 1999, right? So I'm normally the youngest person in the room. When I was in school, we were just started, like I was yelled at for being 10 with a Facebook account, right? So like what we were taught in school at the time was like, well, look, if anybody's cyberbullying you, if anybody's being mean, you can just log out, block them and log out. And I think that speaks to why this isn't being taken as seriously, is because, you know, the older generation's gonna be like, oh, what, somebody's assaulting you in VR? Take the headset off, you idiot. Right. It's like they don't understand, for some people, how real these experiences are, how much this is an extension of their real life. This is no more different than getting on a bus in real life, is sitting in a lobby waiting for a game to start. It's no different to some people. So I'm very much on the same page. It's a very interesting quandary, like where we take it, but luckily, with Monkey See, Monkey Doo-Doo, on a much more lighter note, we will instantly just throw these people out of the game. And
there it is.
I have no issue.
I mean, it's like a restaurant.
I'm not, you know, I'm not in the business of like warning people and being like super like, if somebody does a minor infraction, like, sure, hey, make sure not to do this. But if anybody does anything that just barely steps the line of heinous, you're out. Like, why would I even question that?
Right.
There's no room for mercy for things like that.
Well, I think that's a good approach.
Yeah, it's like I was saying. Sorry, we're really good at cutting each other off. You know, like a restaurant will say, you know, have a sign that says, you know, we reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. You know, I mean, there's no space for any of that kind of misbehavior, and we try to make that very clear. You know, we've even made like very deliberate design decisions in the game to try and minimize as much toxicity as possible. For instance, like there's a very good reason why it's a for now strictly a free-for-all game. And a lot of team games, when you're teamed up, especially with randos, it's very easy to get frustrated and point the finger at other players and be like, "Oh man, you suck!" Like like you're letting the whole team down, and it's just like it's so easy to bully people in team-based games, and we just didn't. We have a two-man dev team. We didn't want to deal with that kind of that kind of drama and stuff. So we're like, you know what? It's free for all, and if you do bad, you've got no one to blame but yourself. You know what I mean? But we also implement systems that if you do bad, well, like you did some things good, kind of like Mario Party. At the end of Mario Party, even if you don't win, you still get bonus stars and stuff for doing like things. So we have systems like that, to make sure that even if you aren't performing super well, you can still feel good about yourself and you're still walking away with something to try and just always keep morale and spirits up so that you're not feeling picked on by other players or the game.
Nice. Well, that's good. Yeah, I think you guys have definitely taken a really good approach, and I appreciate you like tackling this topic with us, because I think it's one of the things that does worry a lot of people when it comes to these kinds of experiences. So to be able to like have been way ahead of the ball and like already thinking about that and having systems in place to deal with it is huge, and I think that's the most that we could ask for as gamers from developers right now when that kind of stuff happens and we want to have an approach.
And the public hears that, and they are more apt to hop into the experience when they know that the developers have already been thinking about that.
Yep.
Right. So that's good.
Yep. So, Brandon, I want to know a little bit more about what's been happening with Clique Games. Because like my introduction to Clique Games, like you guys were just like you're developing Rogue Ascent. Like that's like what I knew of Clique Games when I first kind of met you guys and learned about what Clique Games is all about. But now you're getting into this like side of publishing things, and you've got a whole lot of projects going on. So why don't you give us a little bit more information about what Clique Games has been doing for the past 6 months, year?
Yeah, so Clique Games as a whole is a very weird company. This whole thing started because I made a Minecraft server, believe it or not. Wow. And yeah, that was in 2020. So for a little bit of background, because it helps us to get where we are. So in 2017, me and Waylon, the other owner, started with Spectrum Virtual Reality Arcade. We were one of the first 7 virtual reality arcades to open in the United States, which is wild. And so that experience alone set our lives onto the path of VR. Being one of the first 7 arcades is such a unique experience. Things like Springboard weren't even around at that point. Like we were doing licenses individually with games. And so to grow with the industry from 2017, a year after the Vive launched, is just crazy. Before that, I was playing with the DK1 in 2013, 2014 with my brother because we lied about being developers to get a headset.
Nice.
Like stuff like that. I've always loved VR. So to open an arcade, a brick and mortar, we ran that for years, and then COVID hit. And of course, during a global pandemic, there's nothing worse than putting somebody else's face onto your face. And so we shut down for a few months, and in that time I got to reflect. See, 2020 was a very different time for VR than 2017. And so, at the time, here are more and more Quest 1s are starting to be sold, and the Quest 2 is on the horizon. And I kind of saw the writing on the wall where it's like, the arcades are going to become antiquated unless they get customizable, unique experiences. Oh, I can only go to Spectrum to play this game. And that's what started, hitting my head. And so during my free time in 2020, I saw an opportunity to build a Minecraft server because a friend of mine recommended it. I started building it. I got a following. I got 600,000 followers on TikTok. And in 2021, we had one of the largest Minecraft servers of the year. It was huge. We had thousands of people. And then I kind of looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, do I want to walk into my 30s being the guy who runs a Minecraft server? And I said, no, I would really like to not be that guy, actually. And so I decided to convert that and all the followers I had, the developers I met who are building this incredible Minecraft server. And I was like, what if I take these skills and I start to help VR games so that I can bring them to the arcade? That was my first thought. Like, let's make games for the arcade, or let's bring games to the arcade. Started publishing a few titles. One thing or another happened, and I ended up reaching out to somebody we had met years ago called Jordan McGraw. He had a game called Coffin Rot Brewing Co. It's this pirate bartending VR game. And I was like, hey man, how are you doing? I'd like to publish your game Coffin Rot. And he's like, well man, I don't really work on that game. It's about 3 years old. I'm building this new thing called Rogue Ascent. Do you want to try it? I just got a vertical slice for you to try. I tried it. And that was the real beginning of Clique Games. Jordan McGraw is one of the most incredible developers because Rogue Ascent is the world's first fully hand-tracked VR shooter. It was unlike anything that had ever existed using the Hands 1.0 technology, unlike anything on the planet. So that's where we really became a publisher as we are today. And we've published a ton of titles since then. And our main three obviously are Monkey Do. We have Dragon Fist VR Kung Fu, which is one of the best VR Kung Fu games that you'll ever play. And we have Rogue Ascent, which is a hand-track shooter. We have Coffin Rot, we have a game called VR Dodgeball Trainer, and we have a ton more that are coming later this year that we can't talk about yet. But as a studio, we've only existed for just over a year as currently, and we are already at 6 titles, and we're going to expand to almost double that by the end of the year, or more, hopefully.
Wow, congrats. That's a lot of progress in a short amount of time, man. You guys are like really good at making a lot happen without a lot of time. That's pretty impressive.
Well, and without a lot of resources. When I started this company, I was absolutely broke. I had no money. I had no prospects because the arcade had been shut down for months. It was like really scary. Mm-hmm. And so we just kind of like ran both feet forward as fast as possible into this, and within 2 months of opening Clique Games, we stepped away from the arcades. We knew this is going to be far bigger than the last 5 years of our lives, brick and mortar, because we were really getting some really solid titles that were just absolutely killing it. And so the future for Clique Games right now is we're going to make Monkey Do the best free VR game hopefully ever. That's the goal. I think that this game has a lot of potential, and a lot of the things that we're planning that we can't quite talk about, but maybe we'll hint to later on, give this game the potential to be accessible for everybody, whether you're a content creator looking to further your brand, whether you're a young gamer, an older gamer, whether you're going to physical events and shows. Like, we have so many things in the works for this game, and being a free experience, it's so accessible, and the barrier to entry is so low for Monkey Do. Like David said, it's 2 to 5 minute matches. You walk in and play. Clique Games, we've never published anything free to play like this, and so to take our first foyer with a game this good is incredible, and I'm so excited, and I think we're gonna really hit a mark here.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's impressive to see the progress you guys are making. Go ahead, David.
One of the really cool things about working with Clique has been, we know how to make games here at Continuum, but like, we don't really know the world of like social media and like marketing and all that stuff. It's not our wheelhouse, right? And so like, it's actually interesting hearing Brandon talk about, all these other endeavors that they've got going on simultaneously, because it's like their relationship with us has been, so like reliable and so, involved. It's like I almost had no idea that they had a half a dozen other projects that they were all juggling at the same time, because I feel like we've gotten so much devotion and time and attention from them. So as like a business relationship, like that's huge, right? Because so many you hear kind of horror stories about working with publishers and indie studios, and how sometimes they kind of take advantage of you and just tell you what to do, and you have these weird contracts and stuff. But Clique, it's been so seamless, and I feel like they've given us like all of their time and attention, even though they've actually been juggling all these other things on the side as well. So I think that's really impressive and says a lot about their character and abilities.
Yeah. I think the best way to surmise it is we are scrappy. And I don't care how much money we make. I don't care how many games we have. We'll always be scrappy. It's going to be me and Waylon. That's who you talk to. It's going to be the core teams is who you're going to talk to. As a publisher, my goal to steal the old school Google slogan is "Don't be evil," and it's the same thing, because I've had so many experiences with publishers that's just horrifying in my time, and I don't ever want small indie games that should be getting the limelight to not get that. So yeah, we'll always be scrappy. Like, I devote everything I have to whatever we're working on full time, no matter how many things it is.
What does it mean to publish a game, right? Like, we talk about publishers and like, yeah, we've published these titles. Like, what does that even mean? Like, what does a publisher do?
Yeah, we posted a link on Twitter. We just kind of
it's different nowadays than it used to be, right? I mean, when video games were first becoming a thing, right? Like, it'd be take like, I don't know, I grew up playing Spyro the Dragon, super fun game for the PlayStation 1. I loved it. And so Spyro was made by the developers Insomniac, and they're now a huge studio. Good for them. They earned it, right? But they couldn't have done that without Sony, the company Sony, acting as their publisher, right? So Insomniac might make the game, and then they get in this relationship with Sony, who then says, hey, like, you need to be able to market this game. You need to be able to actually take it, from your computer code onto physical discs and in cases and put it in stores and on shelves at this price tag and all this stuff.
Yeah.
We'll handle all of the distribution. We'll handle all of the marketing. We'll handle all of the art and all that stuff, for promotional trailers and all of that stuff, right? Whereas you guys just focus on the game. Nowadays, because so many things are just, done digitally, you don't really have that physical distribution, so to speak. But Brandon, maybe you can talk about like what you have been able to do for us.
Yeah. So just using Monkey Do as an example, as a publisher, every single day of my life is shrouded in doo-doo, I think is maybe the best way to put it. I all day sit here focused.
It's a good band name.
Thinking about what does this game need to go viral? What does the game need to go as big as possible? So as a publisher, number one, what publishers can mostly bring to the table is like paths to official stores, paths to platforms like Pico and things like that. Because we just have those connections, having published so many games, like we know how to get you out there. And that's a small part of what a publisher should do. Like we have a huge incentive as a publisher to put you on as many platforms as possible because we make more money. And for a lot of publishers, that's pretty much where they draw the line. They're like, yeah, we'll make money doing that and then we'll call it a day. But not for us. Because what I care about more than money, more than anything, is I guess reputation's the word. Like we want to show that we can do it. We want to show that we can make these games go big on a shoestring, that we can do it without, huge money investors. Clique Game isn't investor owned. We have nothing. It's just me and Waylon. It's our time. It's our blood, sweat, and tears. So for Monkey Do, we're out here every single day posting with companies like Impact Reality. We're posting on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. We're running Discord communities. We grew it from 300 people to 5,000 in about a month and a half. We are taking Reddit threads and just turning them into huge conversions of users. So not just posting a fun image or two, but making sure that the call to actions are clear. We're making TikTok videos. We're posting on every single major. So like when you have games like Gorilla Tag, we want to find people that like Gorilla Tag. So let's post to these influencers. Let's reach out to them. Let's get as many PR and news outlets. Let's go on as many podcasts as possible. And we set all of that up in the background so that developers have one goal and one goal only. Make the best damn game possible. And that's their job. What I said from the beginning of starting this company was that if they have to do more than develop the game, I have failed.
Nice.
And I think so far we've kept that true.
Nice. That's a pretty good answer.
I would say so.
What you thinking, Skiva?
Man, yeah. I think if you want to, so developers typically are great at making a game, coming up with what that game's about, doing the art, the 3D assets, right? All of these things, netcode for multiplayer. But they're not always, all about like, how do I do things properly on social media? How do I market the game properly? How do I create a great trailer? How do I do this and that, right? So this is a good symbiotic relationship between studios and really good publishers that I think benefit both. And I love it. I love to see Clique with so many great games and finding games like Monkey See, Monkey Do, right? Because like like I said, I may not have ever looked at this game until I think we were out at the Val conference. It was the first time I saw it. Yeah, and then I played it and it was like, wow, they're onto something here.
Yeah.
I really believe that this game is going to be huge, right? Just like you'll never go into a Gorilla Tag lobby and find it empty. I don't think it will be, I think it's going to be the same for Monkey Do. I don't think you'll ever see it empty.
Yeah.
I think it's always going to be tons and tons of people in there because it's fun, it's engaging, the mechanics are awesome, the graphics are great. Speaking of the graphics, real quick, would you be able to tell us about the art style a little bit, David, and how you kind of designed some of these characters and made a really cool looking game that runs on the Quest on a standalone headset?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess I have some personal biases that I bring into any game that I work on where I think there's this trend with the game industry in general where people, I think consumers almost fall for this, where they think that like the graphics make the game, right? And so you see with these next gen consoles always pushing and pushing for like more photorealism and trying to get something to be just as lifelike as possible, as if that were like, you know, the pinnacle, like the best game ever made is going to be indistinguishable from reality. And like I couldn't disagree more. You know, personally, I think that games are about escapism, right? Like if I wanted to do something in real life, like I would just do it in real life. You know, I wouldn't hop in a game and do it. That sounds, you know, boring to me. So instead, I like to think of, you know, what made the games of my childhood that had these like extreme limitations, like Spyro, for instance, or Crash Bandicoot or Mario, or like, you know, any of those games that, you know, didn't have photorealistic graphics, but are these, you know, hyper successful franchises. You know, they did the best they could with the limitations that they had. And I would even say that with game design and art, like giving yourself limitations actually like breeds creativity and allows for much more interesting and appealing results. So we looked hard into, you know, this is a game about throwing poo. You know, we can't have photorealistic graphics and throwing poo because, you know, yuck, right? Like it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And so we thought like we want this to be a fantastical experience where you're larger than life and all of your abilities, right? Like, you know, you could throw yourself, you know, 50 feet in the air, for crying out loud. Like this can't be realistic. It just doesn't make sense. So we really wanted to lean into this sort of cartoon style, which we'd never done before. You know, we'd never done like a toon shader kind of game. But we felt like it really fit. You know, it kind of gave this Cartoon Network vibe. And we were looking into games like, you know, the hyper stylized looks of like the Spyro Reignited trilogy and the Crash Insane trilogy that came out in the last couple of years, that took these really old low poly games and reimagined them in a beautiful way. And Toys for Bob did an amazing job on the art for those games. And we looked at that as inspiration of how can we take the low end abilities of a Quest, of the Quest 2, and turn it into something that's appealing for all audiences. And this sort of Cartoon Network sort of style of, you know, like having thick black outlines on everything and making everything really saturated and vibrant, really lended to that because it made things not feel gross, and it made sense. It made all of a sudden like the world makes sense in a cartoon environment. And as far as, you know, the game being kind of for a larger audience, you have, you know, cartoons are something that like really appeal to children. Obviously they always have, but more and more today, like adult cartoons are really popular. You know, things that show up on Adult Swim on Cartoon Network, or Fox has, you know, adult animated stuff, Family Guy, The Simpsons, Archer, Rick and Morty, The Boondocks. I mean, you know, like there's really great cartoon entertainment for kids and adults. And so Monkey Do, you know, being this game about throwing poo, you know, it's funny, unlike Adult Swim, I feel like you see more poop jokes than you do in like SpongeBob, you know what I mean? Right. So it's actually like almost more geared towards adults if you think about it.
Yeah.
I am that guy, by the way. I watch cartoons 80 to 90% of the stuff that I watch on TV. Like I literally just love cartoons. I always have. And I will watch, you know, adult cartoons, but I still also enjoy things like SpongeBob and, you know, Adventure Time and like cartoons that are kind of made for a younger audience, but obviously by people who are like cut from the same cloth as me, you know? So, I mean, I watch cartoons all the time. So I completely vibe with that.
Yeah, it's fun being
so
in a
that's,
world
I mean,
like
that's how it came to be. We wanted to do something that made sense, fit with the world. And we added a little bit of lore. I don't know how much of that I can talk about. We're kind of dropping, you know, bits of lore like over time, but the setting of the game, we wanted to explain, for instance, like, well, why don't our monkeys have arms? You know, like, first of all, because arms in VR are not all that they're hyped up to be. If anyone has played their Quest 2 recently and they added arms to the avatar in the Oculus setting,
kind of
the main
terrifying.
menu thing, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, my shoulder comes out of like my chest, and it feels so weird, you know, and I wish I could turn it off. So, you know, we were like, okay, well, like our game, you know, I don't know, the monkeys don't have arms because they don't live on regular planet Earth. They live in the Bermuda Triangle, you know, and we had this plane crash, and I was like, yeah, that's perfect, right? This plane is going to crash. It's going to have all of these cool hats and cargo and stuff, and it crashed because it went through the Bermuda Triangle, because planes and ships and things are always disappearing there. And then this mysterious breed of monkey that don't have arms live up in there because of, you know, whatever it is that makes the Bermuda Triangle. So yeah, you know, and I can't tell you, right? But you know, there is a reason. And so we thought, you know, a cartoon lends to this lore and makes it really, you know, just like a fun thing that we can then trickle into the game and into our socials over time, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yesterday, 2 days before the launch of the game, we had some really weird stuff happen on the Discord. For anybody that might be watching this that was there, seemed like, you know, some weird entity took over the Discord and, you know, started
what was going on with
putting, I don't know, it was really weird, but I think
fun.
stuff like that might keep happening. So
that's fun. I like that. Sweet. We are we're about to start wrapping this thing up, guys, but David, I want to ask you, you know, before we do that, what's the most important thing about this game, or about Continuum XR maybe as a whole, that you think is important to mention that we haven't really gotten around to yet? Like, is there anything that you think is just like something that everyone should know about the game or about you guys that we haven't gotten to? No pressure.
Sure. Yeah, no pressure. All right. Yeah, everybody who's watching. So I'd say Continuum XR as a whole is a very unique studio where, you know, we don't just make games. You know, we do all kinds of mixed reality content, and I get questions all the time, for instance, about, you know, people wanting to get into, you know, the games industry and making games and things for a living, and what I appreciate about Continuum is it's a company that is not afraid to take risks and is allowing of total creative, you know, freedom and liberty, and that's something that I think Monkey Do as a game has really been able to take with and run, where, you know, the bosses just said, hey, let's make a game about monkeys throwing poo. David, ready, set, go. You know, and they've really just stepped back and let me take the reins, and that's a very rare thing to find in a company. And so Mike and Spencer, you know, shout out to them for having a trust in their team that they've created to allow to just, you know, take a project and not feel like they have to micromanage or have any say in things at all. I mean, you know, and so I've really been able to work with the art team and the dev team, and taking in all of the great ideas and filtering them. And it's been such a fun collaborative environment. And I really hope that shows in the gameplay itself. And we want to extend that creative freedom that we as a development team have been given, because this isn't like a free project that, you know, it's like we don't have like any kind of funding specifically to make this game. Like, this is just made on the company's dime. And so it's like a huge investment on their part to just sink in, you know, the cost of development on something that is free, that we're just giving away and might not be profitable. Who knows, right? Like, but we want to extend the freedom and trust that we've been given into creating the game to our community, to be able to open it up to their creative ideas and things that can further enhance the quality of the game going forward, and what they want to see, and what ideas that we might not even be able to think of, that can make our creative vision even better.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Brandon, what do you think, man? Do you have any last words or closing thoughts that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing about Monkey Do that stands out to me is the more I see the community and the more I play the game myself, the more I realize what a special thing Continuum has made. And it's not just because of the gameplay or, you know, all the marketing, blah, blah, blah. It's because, like, there's something about the experience of Monkey Do, as goofy as it is to swing around and throw poop and blah, blah, blah. The game has bred such a wonderful group of people around it, and such a fantastic community, not only in the players, but in our studio and Continuum and all the influencers we've met and people we've talked to, that, you know, it's a place that sometimes I kind of just want to put my headset on and hang out in. There are people that just sit in the lobbies. You know how many discussions me and David had and how few times we ever thought about people just sitting in the lobby? Absolutely zero. But the community loves it. More time is spent sitting in the lobby than in the game. That's
interesting.
Unbelievable.
That is interesting.
And it's because they want to go play the game for a bit, come back, hang out with their friends, meet other people in the community, sit at the shop and see what's in their shop for the day, go back in the games in the community, hang out. And I guess the point I'm getting to is the reason I call this company Clique Games is it's about the connection that we have as VR players that's unlike anything else on the planet. Is regardless of what game it is or how we come together or how we choose to play or what language we speak or how much money we have, everybody's on an equal playing field in VR. And it's, you know, goofy experiences like Monkey Do where I'm seeing people from everywhere, of every age range, just hanging out together is wonderful to me. And it's experiences like that that I wouldn't trade the world for.
There is a link to this game, which is available for free right now in the description below. If you're on Steam, it's there. If you are on Quest standalone.
Well, Steam's coming. Quest, grab it now.
You can wishlist it.
Okay, yeah. Yep. Well, we have the link for the Steam version. Yep. Go wishlist it now, and so that way you're ready for when it drops, and get on your Quest today and start playing this game and jump into this and see this vibrant, beautiful, fun, exciting, poop-filled world that these guys have worked so hard to bring to all of us. David Burnham from Continuum XR and Brandon Egolf, of course, from Clique Games. Thank you guys so much for joining us today and sharing all of your perspective and wisdom on this VR game development process. We are really excited for you, and of course, we're in your corner wishing you the best as you embark on the launch of your new awesome monkey game. So thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
It's been a blast.
We will check in with you soon and see just how many awesome, amazing users you now have in your community. But until then, everybody here, go into the description and check it out. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you soon, okay?
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
They're gone. Just like that. They're gone. Monkey saw Monkey Doo-Doo. They're gone.
That was cool, man.
It was cool.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do tonight? Play
Fling
Monkey
some
Doo-Doo.
Poop into your hand.
For sure. This is so much fun. I'm glad we got to do this episode. It's really cool.
Me too.
Yeah.
Nice bonus episode.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Great guests, cool developers, great publishing people. It's just, oh man, I love what we do.
Me too.
I love getting to talk to all of these amazing VR people and see what they're doing.
You know, and like of course, you know, we're a live show 99% of the time. We love to do live shows, but also it's kind of fun to do recorded ones too, because then we can join in the chat and kind of focus on the conversation in a way that is hard to do when you're the one having it. You know, so if you're watching this episode with us right now, thank you so much. If you're here on YouTube watching the video one, or maybe you're on Spotify, there's a video version there and audio version as well, or iTunes, or wherever it is that you get your podcasts, perhaps on Upload, right? Shout out to Upload VR. We are coming up on our 1-year anniversary as Upload VR correspondents, which is pretty exciting.
Right on.
Yeah, pretty rad, right?
That is rad.
Yeah, we're going to touch a little bit more on some of that stuff just because this is like the time, this is like some Between Reality celebration times, but
yeah,
we'll touch on that a little bit in our next episode, which
will be Friday.
Yeah. In like 4 days.
Yep.
3 days, 4 days.
Yeah, and we have on Quinn Tabor. That's a cool name.
It is a cool name.
Quinn Tabor from Immerse, which is a platform that brings you into an immersive environment to teach you different languages and stuff.
Yeah, Quinn is the CEO of Immerse. And if you happened to catch the VR awards, you would have noticed that Immerse won 2 VR awards during the VR awards.
And you would have also noticed that Alex went up there to accept them.
I accepted those awards on behalf of Immerse at the VR awards. So it just seemed like we needed to get these guys on the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk about what they're doing. Congratulate them, of course, on the awards that they've been winning. And then talk about how somehow I got involved in that. Which is insane.
Right.
So that's going down on Friday. That will be a live episode. So we'll be back to our regular scheduled live programming at that point. But until then, we hope you have a great week. Go download Monkey See, Monkey Doo-Doo and throw some poo at your friends. Anything else, Skiva?
No, I think that's it, man.
That's that. Enjoy your week. We'll see you soon, everybody.
Bye-bye.